Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Thanks to Wizards of the Coast for inviting me to be an MTG ambassador for Lorwyn Eclipsed. Sammy wins the die roll and plays a Bojuka Bog for his land return. Arj has got a tap land for his turn with a Temple of Deceit, Scrying 1. Max just plays a Forest and casts Llanowar Elves. Mathieu lives the dreams with a Plains and casts a turn 1 Serra Ascendant, which is buffed because of his life total. Sammy's got a Mountain and pays 2 for Knight's Whisper. He draws 2 and loses 2, and then discards down to hand size. Arj has got a Forest and casts 3 visits, going to find a land. Max's turn has him playing a Swamp and casting Devoted Druid. He then hits Arja for 1 with the Llanowar Elves and passes. Matt draws playing a Scalding Tarn, and he swings the Ascendant at Sammy. Sammy takes the hit for 6, with Mathieu gaining 6 and passing. Sammy's got a Mountain and pays 3 for a Patchwork Banner, naming Goblin as it comes in. He then casts a Skull Clamp and passes. Arj has got a Forest and casts Canopy Tactician, shipping it after that. Max draws for turn, plays a Swamp, and casts High Perfect Morcant. Each opponent blights 1 as she comes in, and he then passes. During the end step, Mathieu cracks his Scalding Tarn, finding an Elegant Parlor, and surveilling 1 as it comes in. Mathieu's just got a Mountain, and once more goes to combat, swinging the Serra Ascendant at Max. It connects, and he passes after that. Sammy draws, plays a Command Tower, and wants the Ascendant gone, casting Damnation to wipe the board. Arja plays out a Vivid Marsh for turn, which comes in tapped, and he casts Champion of the Perfect. He beholds a Chomping Changeling, and passes after that. Max's turn has a Swamp coming in, and he casts Dionys. He passes, and during the end step, Mathieu casts Swords to Plowshares on the Champions of the Perfect, gaining Arja some life as it exiles. Arja also gets to put the Chomping Changeling back to his hand. Matt just draws, plays a Plains, and casts Blade Historian. Sammy's main phase has him starting off by casting Goblin Matron, which has him tutoring for a Goblin card, and he reveals a Hexing Squelcher. He casts it, and passes after that. Arja's land for turn is a tapped Port of Karfell, and he then has enough mana to cast Maralen. As she comes in, he exiles the top 2 cards of Max's library. He can't cast any of them though, and has to pass. Max draws and goes to combat, swinging at Sammy for 4, who takes the hit. After combat, Max casts an Evolution Sage, and then a Deathrite Shaman. He then plays an Overgrown Tomb, and gets to proliferate as it comes in thanks to the Evolution Sage. Mathieu draws, and isn't happy with it, so he casts Showdown of the Scalds, exiling his top 4. He then plays a tapped Alpine Meadow from exile, and passes. Sammy's got a Mountain, and casts one of my favorite goblins with Kiki Jiki. He then activates Kiki Jiki, copying the Goblin Matron, which allows him to tutor for another Goblin card. He reveals a Skirk Prospector to put to hand, and passes. Arja wants to tutor as well, casting a Fauna Shaman in his main phase, and as the elf enters, exiles Max's top 2 cards again. He then casts from hand a Chomping Changeling, which as it enters, destroys the Skull Clamp, and exiles Max's top 2 again. Having enough elves and fairies now, Arja then continues by casting Serpent's Soul Jar from Max's exile, and passes. Max draws, casting Morcant again, and each opponent blights. He then taps 3 elves to the Proliferate ability on Morcant, but before that, Dionys' ability untaps them after they get tapped the first time for the turn. Going to combat, Max then swings Dionys at Arja and the Evolution Sage at Sammy. They both take their hits, and Max passes. Mathieu's land is a sun-baked canyon. He puts a counter onto the Blade Historian with a showdown of Skalds as well. And he casts Grand Abolisher. And then casts Keeper of the Accord. Sammy casts a Siege Gang Commander, making some Goblin tokens, and then casts a Skirk Prospector. He sacrifices 2 Goblins to the Prospector for 2 red, casting Goblin Bombardment. And then activates Kiki Jiki to make a Siege Gang Commander copy and makes 3 more Goblin tokens. He then sacrifices the Siege Gang Commander copy and a Goblin token to Goblin Bombardment to deal with the Fauna Shaman. He then passes, and during the end step, Mathieu makes a soldier with the Keeper of the Accord. Arja plays Unclaimed Territory, picking Elf, and then casts Pick Your Poison, naming enchantment. Sammy sacrifices 2 tokens to remove the Grand Abolisher before sacrificing the Goblin Bombardment. Arja then activates the Serpent Soul Jar to help cast Fauna Shaman again, and as it comes in, exiles Max's top 2 cards. Arja then continues by casting Tyvar with a Bellicose, and hits Max again with Maralen's ability. He then casts an Elvish Archdruid with Maralen from exile, and as it comes in, exiles Max's top 2 yet again. He passes after that. Max draws and casts Generous Patron, and supports onto Morcant and the Evolution Sage. This has each opponent blighting, and Max then taps 3 elves to proliferate, drawing off the Patron, and gets to untap his 3 elves again with Dionys. Max then continues by casting a Realm Walker, and then taps 3 elves yet again to proliferate once more. He plays a Baron Moor, and proliferates thanks to the Evolution Sage. Max also gets to draw some cards for proliferating the -1/-1 counters on his opponent's creatures, and goes to combat. He then swings the Evolution Sage, and the Deathrite Shaman, and Morcant at Mathieu, and Dionys at Arja. They all just take the hit, and Max then passes, with Mathieu making a soldier token during the end step. Matt's land for turn is an abandoned air temple, and he casts Heliod Suncrowned. He then swings the Keeper of Accord at Max, who takes the 6 thanks to Double Strike. After combat, Mathieu then casts Bree and passes. Sammy draws and starts his turn off by casting Diabolic Intent, sacrificing a Goblin token and going to tutor for a card. He then sacrifices 2 more Goblins for 2 red to help cast Living Death. With the Goblin Matron coming back, Sammy then goes and grabs Sling Gang Lieutenant to put to hand, and he passes turn after that. Arja draws and activates his Soul Jar, casting Maralen from exile. He then hits Max with the exile trigger from Maralen as she comes in. He follows up by casting Llanowar Visionary, and continues to exile from Max again. Arja then continues with an Arbor Elf, exiling Max's top 2 again, and passes after that. Max casts the first Planeswalker of the game with Garruk Cursed Huntsman, and then casts Atomize on the Patchwork banner. He proliferates Garruk up to 6 loyalty, and then downticks him to make an emblem. Max then continues by untapping his Devoted Druid, and then swinging the Gala Greeters at Matt, and Lyssalana Huntsmaster and Imperious Prefect at Sammy. Before moving to blocks, Sammy copies the Siege Gang Commander to make some Goblin tokens, to block with his tokens and Hexing Squelcher to trade, and Mathieu just takes the hit. After that, Max passes. Mathieu draws and plays a Command Tower, and then casts Ascend from Avernus, putting 4 into the X. He then goes to combat, swinging the Asera Ascendant at Sammy to finish him off. In his post-combat main phase, Mathieu then casts a Kinskar Sentry. He moves to his end step, hitting the Slumbering Walker off of Bree's trigger. He casts it, and passes turn. Arja draws, recasting Fauna Shaman, and hitting Mathieu's library this time with Maralen's trigger as it comes in. He then activates his Port of Karfell and sacrifices it, and brings back a Realm Walker, which as it enters, exiles 2 more cards from Mathieu. Arja then uses 1 blue for rapid hybridization and takes out the Grand Abolisher, passing. Max has got a forest and recasts Morcant. Each opponent blights, and Max then passes turn. Mathieu draws and warps in Hylia. He follows up by casting Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, and then swings the Serra Ascendant at Max. Max responds by casting Galadrim's Ambush to fog it, and Max makes an elf token, which has each opponent blighting after that. Mathieu moves to his second main phase, and then his end step, and removes a counter from the Slumbering Walker to reanimate the Grand Abolisher, plus draws a card off Hylia. He also gets to put Aurelia to hand with Breeze Trigger as he passes turn. He then puts Hylia in exile thanks to Warp. Arja draws and casts a Skemfar Avenger, exiling the top 2 cards from Mathieu. He then casts a Priest of Titania, exiling off of Matt again. He follows up with an Eclipsed Elf and continues to exile from Mathieu. The Eclipsed Elf looks at his top 4 and reveals a Farhaven Elf which he puts to hand. Arja then activates his Fauna Shaman, pitching the Farhaven Elf, and goes to grab a Heritage Druid, and casts it, exiling 2 more cards from Mathieu yet again. Arja then activates his Soul Jar, casting Arbor Elf from exile, and as it comes in, exiles 2 more cards from Mathieu yet again. With enough elves, Arja is then able to cast a Chroma's Will from Mathieu's exile pile thanks to Maralen. He then swings his Commander and the Realm Walker at Matt, who takes half the damage despite the fact that they have double strike. This is Arja gaining 6, and he then passes turn. During the end step, Max untaps his Devoted Druid to help tap it for mana to help make an elf token with the Imperious Prefect. Max draws, playing out a Cavern of Souls and naming elves. He casts a Beast Whisperer, which as it enters, has each opponent blighting. Max then casts Gyre Sage, blighting his opponents again and drawing a card from the Beast Whisperer. Max then continues with the Fyndhorn Elves, drawing another card and blighting a 3rd time this turn. And then activates his Imperious Prefect, making another elf token and blighting a 4th time. Max then follows up by casting Elvish Promenade, and with 13 elves makes 13 elf tokens, and Mathieu and Arja blight 13 times among their creatures. With some of his stuff getting taken out, Arja loses 3 and draws 3 with the Skemfar Avenger. And Max then taps 12 elves to help proliferate 4 times. Arja then draws 5 and loses 5 of the Skemfar Avenger again. And Max then goes to combat, swinging everything at Mathieu. Mathieu blocks Morcant with Gisela, but only drops to 31 because of the half damage. Max passes after that. Mathieu draws and brings out Hylia from exile, and then follows up with Aurelia the War Leader. And he goes to combat, swinging out at Arja. He then uses his extra combat step to swing out at Max and win the game. Game review time. I cannot express how happy I am to be back in a fun Magic playing. I think the biggest gripe I have with Lorwyn is the fact that we only get 1 set of Lorwyn. Other than that, it's a super Kindred focused set. It's got a lot of cool goblins, merfolk, all kinds of fun stuff. We had such a blast building these decks. Even Arja, who is not a fan of Kindred, got into it. That being said, the strongest card this game was probably that Living Death. I know Sammy was really feeling the pinch, and he wanted to help wipe the board and re-establish himself, but I think he brought back too much value for his opponents. That Serra Ascendant was too dangerous with Mathieu's high life total. Otherwise, I think it was cool that everyone except for Sammy got to cast their commander, although Sammy didn't really need to return a goblin to his hand. Grub could have been helpful on the field, at least on the flip side, to make copies as well. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.